Welcome to the Mount Pleasant Podcast, featuring discussions and interviews about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant such a special place.
This is the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Cleary, and all thanks to the great people of Mount Pleasant Magazine, I get the honor, the privilege of introducing you to Mount Pleasant, the people who make it such a special place to do business, to work, and even to live. We're introducing you to Mount Pleasant's best on the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
Here we are again for the next episode of Isle of Palms podcast, and we're honored here. Ernie Passailaigue, I'm just thanks for inviting us into your home.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, Bill, and you can look around and see this is a part of paradise.
It is paradise. Yeah. And you know, in our conversations, you've lived on the island 35 plus years.
Yes, moved over here in '61 when I was 14 years old, so that'll give you my age. But that was a great experience, just growing up on the Isle of Palms in my teenage years.
Yeah, you said you used to hang out or play at the old campgrounds.
I did. In fact, 41st Avenue was kind of the end of the Isle of Palms. The next step was China, you know, as far as I knew.
Was J.C. Long still developing out here at that point?
Yes. I can't think the company he developed under was Lowcountry.
There's a lot of highlights in your career, obviously. But you were in the State House. Were you in the State House? You were in the Congress?
Yeah,
South Carolina.
I was in South Carolina Senate from 1988 to 2001.
And you decided not to run again.
Correct. I was offered a position by the new Lottery Commission to become its first executive director, and I accepted it in August of 2001. I went to work. No desk, no office really, no phone, no fax machine, no computer, no nothing beside me.
You were one of the first ones in the state to work remotely.
Pretty much. They did give me the Budget Control Board gave me one office to start off with.
Well, I do want to go to the lottery, but you've had so many other great things that you've done besides the lottery. And one of the things that in our conversations is I really like the fact your colleagues in the Senate, South Carolina Senate, they really trusted you. And we were talking about the bridge, the Ravenel Bridge, when we talked about, and we both talked about our admiration for our mutual friend,
right,
our colleague, Arthur Ravenel, which, you know,
and his wife Rick.
You guys got together to help build that. Can you tell that story a little bit so people will know?
Well, this kind of predated the bridge, but a lot of people ran, especially over here, ran on the idea of building a new bridge to take care of the needs of the people. And the old bridges, which are the Grace and the Pierman, were functionally obsolete. So the idea was to try to put together a group of us in the Lowcountry, especially the Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester area, to emphasize the need to work together to get the funds to generate enough money to build that bridge. And I think at the time, this is back from memory, so I might be corrected, but we were looking at maybe $500-600 million at that point in time to try to build a bridge we wanted to build. So that's what we kind of focused our attention on. And there was a key moment in the building of the bridge when Senator Ravenel, or Congressman Ravenel, whatever you want to call him. Arthur. Yeah, Arthur, cousin Arthur. He decided he wanted to come back to the Senate. He had been in the Senate before. He'd been in the U.S. Congress before. And he decided he wanted to make one last run, mainly focusing in on bringing together all the resources necessary, human, capital, etc., to build a bridge. So
what year was this, Ernie?
I believe it was 96 when he was elected again for the last time. I might stand corrected, but I believe it was 96. So I think Larry Richter had represented the Mount Pleasant area before him, and Arthur ran and he won that seat. I think Larry did not offer for that seat again. And so basically we worked with Arthur Ravenel hand in glove every day, trying to make sure we position ourselves to be able to get the funds necessary to build that bridge.
And one of the reasons that y'all got together and persuaded Arthur to run, McConnell did that, right?
Well, it was Harry Hallman, who was the former mayor of Mount Pleasant. I knew Harry also from the South Carolina House of Representatives. He was a good friend. McConnell was, I think, his best friend. I think Arthur would tell you that if he was alive.
And one of the reasons that you all got together and persuaded him, because Arthur had deep roots and he had deep contacts and relationships with a lot of men and a lot of politicians that could get the money for the Ravenel, right?
Yeah, Arthur was, he'd been around politics for a long time in South Carolina. He probably started off as a Democrat like everybody else back in the 50s and 60s. So he had a very good relationship with key people in the U.S. Congress, that is Senator Thurman, Senator Hollings. He had a really good relationship with Senator Hollings. I had a good relationship with Congressman Clyburn. And they did a lot of things together to help fund the bridge. And Arthur was kind of the conduit between the federal government and the state government and local government, because they required a so-called local match. The infrastructure bank, which was an idea that was put into law from the late Buck and Limehouse, that was key in funding the bridge, because then we were able to take those dollars of money and pool them together from the statewide perspective. They were able to borrow money, and that was real important in trying to get together the necessary resources.
Ernest, you know how Arthur was. So at the 10th anniversary, he and his wife were over there at Frankie House.
Yeah.
And I walked in there with our writer for Mount Pleasant Magazine. We did an article in Mount Pleasant Magazine. And I said, "Hey, Arthur, how you doing?" He goes, "I'm tired." I said, "Why are you tired?" And he goes, "Because I've been scraping ice off that bridge," And I just, it's so Arthur.
It is really. I mean, he used to come up with the craziest thing. We just, in the Senate, there was usually when we first started the session, they allowed us to kind of get up and say various things about local politics or local activities. And Arthur would always come up with some of the just funniest things. He had a farm out in the Francis Marion State Forest, Federal Forest, and he used to go to that farm a lot, and he raised the guineas. He used to talk about the guineas, and he used to talk about running those chickens and all and turkeys around. I mean, it was really funny.
If you read this newspaper, you'll know everything that's going on IOP.
I think Island Vibes is going to be a game changer for Olive Palms. It's happy, it's fun, just like our island.
Hi, we're Alec and Marianne Chalmers. We love the vibe. It's great personalized and curated content for the island here. It's a great read. Thank you.
Island Vibes is awesome, and I love that it's a different perspective on the island, and the quality of the paper is super. Thank you.
And positive. Thank you very much.
You're watching the Isle of Palms podcast.
You spent 13 years in the Senate?
Yeah, I first was elected in 1988, Senate seat 43, which actually is the seat that Chip Campson holds now. And I resigned that seat in August of 2001 when they offered me the position of executive director of the South Carolina Lottery.
So I do want to talk about the lottery, but like I said, you've done so much more than that. I get the feeling that your colleagues in the Senate really trust you. Your background's numbers and CPA, okay? And that's part of the reason. But when you talked about the money for the bridge and that identity was bank, what do you call it again?
Infrastructure Bank.
Infrastructure Bank. They actually assigned you to that committee, or they had that up, did they not? Because they trusted you making sure that things would be done right, because there was a lot of money there, right?
Yeah. So the way that worked is the Infrastructure Bank was a position created under a statute, the newly created statute. Several people got appointments from that bank: the Speaker of the House, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, which was Senator John Drummond of Greenwood, and the governor. And so our appointments came through Senator Drummond of Greenwood. And the first appointment he put on there was a guy named Luke Rankin, because Luke was trying to develop Luke was from Myrtle Beach, so he was trying to do the Conway bypass and some of the infrastructure up there in the Horry County area. Then he put Arthur Ravenel on it, which was very critical in the scheme of things. So Arthur was able to get inside the loop, and that in that infrastructure bank and make sure that when Greenville wanted something, or Beaufort wanted something, or York County wanted something, Charleston also wanted something. And it was all about trying to put together what they call the local match that would be a fund created locally that would also be combined with a heavier fund of federal and state dollars.
It's funny when you think about that, because now the coastline is so popular versus, and I know that's one of the reasons you went into politics, so you could represent Charleston, because you've always felt that back then Charleston never got its fair share. I know. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the Isle of Palms. The Exchange building was done in 1940. Was built, is that right?
It was in the 40s.
In the 40s,
I believe. I mean,
and then of course the Sattilles could have been back then. He was the first mayor, right? Or he wasn't the first mayor, but Sattilli was one of the first mayors.
Yeah, right? I can't remember, but he was one of them.
But you did run the Exchange building, Exchange Club for some time.
Well, I was president. So
okay.
I don't know if you call it
running it.
It was a job, actually. Yeah. I had a paying job, which was my CPA practice, and then I had a non-paying job, which was a labor of love.
So how long were you president of the Exchange?
It was 1 year, but you had kind of rotate up, so you became treasurer and then vice president.
And what year was that?
I think it was 75, 76. Uh-huh. I'm trying to think back. You can go down, I think, down the building now,
right.
They've got the old timers on the wall somewhere.
When you look at Isle of Palms today, and you look at it back then, and I know this is a hard question, or kind of an abstract question, but what's the biggest difference?
The growth not only of the island from a single family standpoint, but the Wild Dunes development, certainly a huge impetus in terms of growth of the island. And then we've become a destination point for a lot of people around the country, which means that, in
a sense, around the world.
Around the world, yeah. I shouldn't say around the country. So it's a part of paradise that I found back in the 60s that a lot of people around the United States and the world have found more recently.
In this house that we're in now, of course, your family house, you eventually tore down, but you've been living on this same plot of land for how many years?
Well, on and off, I've been here since 61.
Wow.
Sometimes, because I spent some time in Charlotte, and I spent some time in downtown Charleston.
And then Margaret, your wife, she used to live right next door with her family, is that right? I mean, I can see the roof right there.
Yeah, and that's actually about the same house that it was back in those days.
Isn't that crazy?
So, yeah, it's really, so she didn't know me and I didn't know her, but her family, part of her family had a beach home over here. That was their second vacation home. And she would tell me that all she remembered was a lot of beer drinking, yelling and screaming as my dad and mom and some of us as teenagers had parties over here.
The lot in the home back then, there was a lot in the home. Is it fact that they paid back then $7,000 for it?
Now, this is from memory, but I think my dad bought this property from a neighbor. We lived in Hanahan at the time. Mm-hmm. And so he bought it, I think, for $7,000 or $7,500. I remember him complaining after the closing. He thought he had a handshake at $7,000, and actually the closing was $7,500. So he went to his grave thinking he got gypped. And now you can see you couldn't get a square inch of dirt out here for $7,500.
That's so true, isn't it? It's so true. So let's go to, because we talked about it for a good while, and I didn't want to start off with that, but let's go to the lottery.
Yeah.
So my understanding is your colleagues wanted you to learn about lotteries, and you ended up going and exploring, like Georgia was one of them?
When I first came to the Senate, there was a fellow, Sherry Marchink's father, Ryan Sheely out of Lexington, ran the lottery bill, and he retired in 92, so I decided after 92 I'd take it up. Actually, Ryan and I had a talk, and I decided, because I was not so much pro-lottery as I was pro-voting. So it was a controversy. The Georgia lottery was very popular in South Carolina. At the time, we had no lottery. A lot of people used to ask me, why can't we have a lottery? There's no petition initiative, so you can't, voters can't sign a petition to put a lottery on the ballot. It has to come through the legislature.
Were there a lot of people, Ernie, driving over to Georgia to buy lottery tickets?
There was, and there were a lot of people that were interested in the lottery. Probably one of the main reasons that Jim Hodges got elected, I think it was in 1998, was he was pro-lottery, and Governor Beasley at the time was not. So anyway, we worked on the lottery, and I, as a member of the Finance Committee, Senator Drummond sent myself and some other senators around the country studying lotteries in case we ever was a need to have one in South Carolina.
Everybody in the Senate then was pretty sure it was going to be voted, or likely to be voted.
If it ever, people were sure of this, if it ever got to the ballot, it would be a positive vote.
Okay.
But that's a constitutional amendment, so it was a very high hurdle. The first thing you had to do was have a vote of 2/3 of the House separately and 2/3 of the Senate to pass the resolution to put it on the ballot. So it was a super.
That's for any law,
constitutional amendment.
Okay.
We passed that in the Senate, I think in 99, I believe. It went to the House. They concurred with a lottery bill. That went on the ballot in 2000, and it passed. I don't know what it was, but it had an overwhelming vote. And so in 2001, we had the legislature, when they reconvened for the new legislature, well, I just got reelected along with 46 other senators, or 45 other senators. The thing we worked on was what it calls the enabling legislation, which is the guts of the nuts and bolts of running a lottery.
It was voted in, and then you were appointed to run it because of how did that evolve?
Well, I had some friends. So I had some friends in the legislature, namely Glenn McConnell and Arthur Ravenel asked me to look at being the director. Their take on it was they were kind of distrustful of, I have to say it, Governor Hodges appointed. They didn't want an outsider coming in and
they didn't want to have somebody appointed. They wanted to have somebody inside, like you.
Well, they wanted somebody they thought they can trust, that knew what the lottery was about. I'd studied it, I'd worked on it, et cetera, et cetera. It was my bill in the legislature, so I knew a good bit about it. And they didn't want somebody. Arthur used to say somebody was from off, OFF, and that meant somebody that was not from here. And so he used to tell me, I don't want somebody from off coming in and becoming the director of our lottery, because it requires somebody that knows the Palmetto State and its politics and the players and what you need to do to run a lottery.
How many years did you run it?
I was the first employee in August of 2001. I resigned in June 30th of 2009 and went to start the Arkansas lottery. Starting a lottery is different than, like starting a business, is different than just going into the existing lottery. So it's a lot.
What are the foundations for the lottery? The money goes towards education is one of the things?
Yes.
And let me ask you this. Has our lottery, remembering you're not running for office.
Right.
You can just say
never
whatever
again.
you want. You want to say what you want to say.
Yeah, never but again running for office.
Has it done what it's supposed to do for the residents of South Carolina?
Well, I think so. So all the proceeds by law have to go to education. That's why it's called the South Carolina Education Lottery. But it doesn't have to all go to scholarships. For instance, the Georgia Hope Scholarship, which was the very popular scholarship that we modeled some of our stuff after, was mainly the total amount of funds from the Georgia lottery went to that funding the Hope Scholarship. In South Carolina, you have K through 12 getting money, like you have
well, that's great. That's
school buses, you have colleges and universities getting money. You can go to their website, the South Carolina Education Lottery, and find out how much money has been raised over the period.
Are you one of the ones that structured that way because of what you learned from the Georgia and other lotteries?
Well, when I was in the Senate, I was part of a group that helped craft the enabling legislation. When I became an employee of the state of South Carolina as director of the lottery, then I took that legislation and we implemented the legislation. It was very critical for us because there was a lot of people, a sizable amount of people that were very concerned about the lottery and gambling. And so we were very concerned about them. our constituents weren't just people that voted for the lottery or played the lottery. No, our constituents were every individual in the state of South Carolina, and we wanted to be very respectful of everyone in South Carolina.
Good for you, Ernie. Good for you.
So that's the way we ran it. And we ran a very, I have to say, I think we ran a very respected lottery all over the country. By my colleagues in the lottery business, I was elected to be national, what was called the North American Association of State and Provincial Lotteries, which is not just the United States, but also Canada and Mexico.
Oh, it's an association?
Yeah, of all the lotteries. And I was elected president in 2008.
As you know, and those that don't, this is our Mount Pleasant magazine. We do this. And this is our family edition.
Right.
So one of the things I've been told by your lovely wife is, I asked, what's the most important thing? And she says family. Mm-hmm. And those philosophies you have about the residents of the state of South Carolina, mm-hmm. and as you crafted the mission, if you would, for mm-hmm. the lottery, part of that's based on your belief of family. And I think that's what makes South Carolina, and particularly Mount Pleasant, such an awesome place to live in the island, because a lot of people that surround you and I and the community that we serve mm-hmm. Are family oriented. They believe in high family values.
Right. I'm glad you chose my wife, who's the love of my wife is the love of my life. But you can see over here, not on the camera, but there are 14 grandchildren. Some of the pictures are older than they should be because they won't give me the up-to-date pictures. A lot of them, I have a grandson who's going to be 30 years old this year, so he doesn't send me a current picture.
You know, it's fun as we go take our journey through life. Each chapter of our life has something, silver lining, that the chapter before did not have, and the chapter after that chapter we're in doesn't have. And that's grandchildren, and watching them grow is certainly part of the silver
Absolutely.
lining.
We're very proud of them. I got my daughter Angel's oldest son, Riley, is graduating a week from from
Do you try to go to the graduations when possible?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I try to make everything like that. And also to the baseball games, the soccer games, whatever.
So not to regress in this conversation, but what do you like most about living on the island?
Well, like I said, when I moved over here, it's a little bit of paradise for us. I like to live out in our dock a good bit at a time, as long as the weather permits. We can walk. It's a short walk to the front beach. When our family comes here, we only have a 3-bedroom house. We thought that was enough for empty nesters back when we built this house. But in the summertime, with 7 kids, their spouses, 14 grandchildren.
Do they ever come all at one time? Well, they don't come at one time, do they?
If they never will be able to stay here all at one time. So it's always, we have a kind of a calendar we keep in the warmer months of the year about who's coming. I think this is the 3rd or 4th weekend we've got.
So if I ever drive by your house and I see tents in the backyard, it's because you got all your family here. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I used to sleep, back when I was a teenager. We had a back porch, a screened-in back porch, and some swings and stuff like that, some hammocks. And I used to sleep out there in the summertime because we didn't have air conditioning when I first moved over here.
Yeah. Well, I gotta ask you an important question.
Yes.
This is important to me. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Do you read Island Vibes?
I do.
Do you like it, Ernie?
Yes, I do. I read it. I think I got it Saturday, I believe. This Saturday, and I read it, and I liked it.
I'm so honored to do it for the residents. And
Absolutely.
The residents love it. So, it's really rewarding. As when you did things in the Senate and stuff, when people tell you how excited they are about what you've done, it feels good, doesn't it?
It does. And I think the Moultrie News might have been a forerunner of all this, but it was a very important paper back then, and this is a very important paper as far as I'm concerned, because I read it and learn.
It's about Isle of Palms.
Right. That's what we like.
Actually, Ernie, this is the first time, I've lived here since 79. This is the first time there's ever been, and I never thought about it this way, but this is the first time there's been a publication just for Isle of Palms.
Yeah.
So, Ernie, thanks for being here with us.
Absolutely.
I know folks watching it and or listening to it are going to appreciate this and what you had to say. And it's a way for you and I to capture a slice of history.
Right. It's been great.
Thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for spending your time with the Mount Pleasant Podcast. Your community, your podcast. Listen to past and future episodes at mountpleasantpodcast.com.